this man, the incredible things that he stood for, the incredible things he accomplished. And as my brother spoke, the things that still need to be accomplished as we move forward. We live in a moment where deep divide separates our society, our culture. Lack of respect is at the center of this division. We discredit, unfriend, disassociate from all who differ from us. We hold our own opinions in such high esteem that the dream of Dr. King is in danger of being forever lost. We have become disconnected as communities and as a society. We no longer challenge ourselves to hear those who have a different perspective, and for that, we are less as a people. It is in the hearing of different beliefs and perspectives that we are stretched. We learn new things about others, but also about ourselves, the individuals that make up society. Ultimately, the heart of Dr. King's message was that all people, every individual, would have the same opportunities as everyone else. Not to conform to the ways of the culture around us, but to become fuller, better, best versions of ourselves. Yet we hold on to our opinions, the things that separate, much of which is based on unfounded ideals that are frankly untrue, furthering the divisions in our society, politically, economically, ethnically, socially. The list is unending, those things that would tear us apart. But I believe that Dr. King would say it is not too late. If we will simply set aside those things that divide and look to what binds us together, using them as a starting point to a new revival of the dream where every man and woman, boy and girl, young or old, regardless of race, religion, financial standing, or individual identity, can hold fast to the promises that founded this great nation. That if each of us would do our part, the hope of the dream can live again. But we must stand. We must stand unified in our individuality. After all, it's our differences that make us stronger. Diversity. In the corner, you see the logo of the Goodlettsville Parks Department. It is the diversity flower. It symbolizes the idea that all colors can exist together in unity and in harmony, making this world a better place, a more beautiful place. Webster's dictionary defines diversity as the condition of having or being composed of differing elements, variety, especially the inclusion of different types of people, such as people of different races or cultures in a group or organization. You see, if I was to set out to paint a picture, I would not want my color set to be limited to white or black, but I would want to be able to use all of the wonderful colors of the rainbow, because I believe all colors working together makes this world a better place. It paints a much more beautiful picture. When a person was born with blinded eyes, one of the most amazing moments is when they receive their sight. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos, they're all over the internet, but you can watch that moment where someone who had never seen colors has their eyes opened. And what they thought was the bluest blue, what they imagined, can't even compare to the reality of the beauty that is creation. The beauty that is the colors that make up this wonderful world. As a child, I never knew that I was different from anyone else. I learned that from my parents and from those around me who taught me that there was differences between people. Our children are a precious commodity, and we must be very careful to not found them under the same ridiculous ideals and principles that have caused the divisions that we see amongst us today. Because when children see another child, they see a friend. They don't see color. They see a person that is no different than them. My best friend when I was in elementary school was an Indian boy named Ben. Great name for an Indian boy. You don't know many Indian children named Ben. His family came from India. They lived here for a number of years, but his parents still did not speak English. But they were an amazing family. I want to challenge you before I go any further to make sure that you are not furthering the divide that is in our culture by teaching ideas that are outdated, because there is no place for division or separation in our society anymore.
That's right.
As a child, I grew up in a relatively poor family. My parents were divorced when I was 9 years old. And I remember when it was time to buy school supplies, I desperately was ready for my new box of crayons. How many of you remember when you opened that first fresh box of crayons? You opened it, you smelled the crayons themselves. They were wonderful, right? I always got this box right here, 16 colors. Great, right? It's amazing. You can do unbelievable things with a box of 16 crayons. But my friends would get this box of crayons that had 64 colors. Had a sharpener in the back in case you broke the tip off of the crayon. I was so jealous of my friends because my family could not afford that box of crayons. Well, I want to show you something that I discovered today that I didn't know existed. This box has 120 colors. And it comes with its own sharpener that's not even attached to the box. You see, Crayola understands something that many of us in society still do not get to this day. Colors are not meant to be divided. They're meant to be together. In tone, in difference, colors are intended to coexist. When you blend the colors, you can make paintings that are breathtaking, that are unbelievable, and produce vibrant colors that the mind can't even begin to comprehend. The problem is we focus on our differences, and the differences cannot be our focus. When we focus on what is different, we give birth to fear. Fear drives us apart. Fear separates. Fear divides. Fear causes us to look at individuals as different, as opposed to as other people. 1 John 4:18 says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love." I challenge you today to evaluate yourself, to look deep within and ask yourself this question: am I driven by fear of what's different, or am I driven by love? You see, it is possible to learn to love our differences, because each of us as individuals has unique attributes that are intended to make our community, our society, our nation a much better place. But as long as we can't see past something as insignificant as the tone of our skin, we will never achieve the fullness of the dream that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of. Martin Luther King Jr. said this: "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." When we listen to what he is saying in that statement and we look at the root of that idea, we can see where many times we have gone awry. We have followed the wrong path. But I would challenge us today as we step forward into 2020, into this new decade, that we would look beyond what is at the surface and look under the surface, understanding that everyone in this room has a heart, 2 lungs, kidneys, and the very same blood flows through our veins. There are people in this room who can take the blood from my body and it can help save their lives in a moment of trial, of chaos, of trauma. Nowhere on that package does it say this came from a white man. Nowhere on that package does it say this came from a black man. Nowhere on that package does it indicate anything other than the type of blood that is necessary for that individual. Because we are all unique. We are all unique, and that uniqueness is what makes this place great. Unity, not division, is what will take us forward in 2020. Coretta Scott King said, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members." The Bible tells the story of the Good Samaritan who happened along the road where a man was found in a ditch who happened to be Jewish. That Jewish man was passed by his brothers and sisters who were also Jewish, but this Samaritan, who was of a different nationality, stopped to take the time to care for that man. Now, I'm not going to share the scriptures with you. You can look at them yourself. They're found in the book of Luke, chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. However, I will tell you that Martin Luther King would have applauded the Samaritan. I will tell you that all too often we pass by our own people who are hurting simply because we don't see the needs of those closest to us. We need to close our eyes to color. We need to close our eyes to difference. We need to embrace each other as brothers, sisters, and friends. Christianity said good works is giving to the poor and the helpless, but divine works is showing them their worth to the one who matters. Will Smith said, "If you're not making someone else's life better, then you're wasting your time. Your life will become better by making other lives better." You see, if we would embrace the dream and help every man, every woman, every child to accomplish all that they've ever dreamed of accomplishing, not having any hindrance to hold them back, I can't imagine the reaction if Martin Luther King Jr. were alive today. So I challenge you that this not just be about celebrating the memory of a man. This be about making a new start as a nation, as a community. That we would see the dream of Martin Luther King Jr. spread across Goodlettsville, Nashville, Tennessee, all the way to Washington, D.C. That we would stand united, not accepting that this is just the way it is, but believing that if we would stand individually, united together, we can make a difference and bring the dream of Martin Luther King Jr. to pass.
Yes.
Thank you.